So we're back on Trump again, and I really didn't want to go near it. But it's just every day at the moment, it's Trump, Trump, Trump. Drives me nuts. I think, right, I'm going to let it go now. He don't stop. I've already said it previously that as 2026 comes in, I've got other projects to do in the new year, so I'm not always going to be creating video content. So it's really frustrating for me that as I get closer to the end of the year, it's consumed by this moron. Like, I'm fed up with it. I do get downvoted on anything that's Trump related. I just laugh. I just think morons. Happens every time. Downvote, downvote, downvote. They won't even get past this part where I've just said anything. They just hear negative or to hear the topic and they go, no, don't like that. Idiots. So just learn to freaking educate yourselves. That's all I'd ask, is that people just learn to educate themselves and listen for a while and just absorb some information. Freaking hell. It's like, how the hell can you listen to this guy and actually think he's good value, he's worth investing in? This is the guy who was the no wars president. Effectively, this is what it's like in politics in general. It drives me nuts. A lot of time, the opposing party, as they're the opposing party, they often go with the opposite of what the other's doing. And that sets them apart. Because usually there's all shit's hit the fan every time, no matter who's in charge. But with Trump, it's an extra layer of crap. It just takes it to a whole nother level. So he tells everybody what they want to hear, so then he becomes president. Then he goes against every single policy that he said he was going to do. He goes against all of it. It's outrageous. The guy he is not accountable for anything, and he just keeps subverting the attention away from things that compromise him. There was already in the news, there was suggestion that there's going to be a cover-up of these Epstein files. The fact that Trump didn't want them released initially, then eventually, because of the widespread pressure that would not subside, he eventually said, you know what, I've got nothing to hide, we'll release it then. I just don't know what the fuss is about. And then it gets closer. I think he had to release it within a month, and I'm pretty sure, like, I'm hearing recently that the deadline's very soon. I think it's this week, I'm not sure. And there was suggestion that he would do something to stop it from happening where the attention's away somewhere else, and he doesn't necessarily have to release it then. And all of a sudden, we get this massive situation with Venezuela, where all of a sudden he's obsessed with drugs coming out of there. So he's attacking drug trafficking boats, and that was the precursor, I guess. The next thing you know, he's commandeering oil rigs, ships, and it's just, what's that got to do with the drugs? Now all of a sudden he's literally just done a speech, and he's declared that they're blockading Venezuela. They are saying we would have reclaimed the land they took from us, and the oil that they're owed or something. It's just outrageous. How is Venezuela American land? It's just crazy. And you can keep, people might not like it, the ones that are his followers, but it's like, get out of his asshole and actually start to see the world. It's outrageous. I've been saying it all along. This American empire, I said it recently. I said about the British Empire existed. We had the Roman Empire. You had the Persian Empire. There's been empires before. There'll be probably empires after. But right now, this is the era of America's empire. They might not have an obvious influence around the world in terms of landmass. You look at it and just think USA is isolated to North America. What is it? They've got naval bases and army bases scattered all around the world. Of course, every nation really has embassies, but America actually has army bases everywhere. So they are policing the entire planet. It's outrageous. Everything goes through America. And I saw Biden recently, actually. So this isn't all about Trump. Sometimes I get fed up with America in general. I switched it off. It was Biden. I think it was recently. He looked really old. And he said about, if America doesn't police the world, who will? And I thought, what? Like, first of all, why does the world need policing anyway? Do you know what I mean? Like, we don't need one taking over and being in charge, and like we all have to answer to them. It's a bunch of buffoons. America is I don't know if it's the youngest country in the world, but I don't think it's the youngest. But it's a very young country. I've even spoke about it in my books, and I'm not going to go too deep here. But I see it as a country that has so much potential, but I feel they have advanced too fast. So America as a nation has advanced faster than their society can handle. That's why there's still this attachment to guns. Most other countries don't have guns, apart from the places that have criminals, cartels, and all that shit. It's only places that have actually this absolute chaos. You've got like people like Afghanistan, where they've got the freaking machine guns and shit, assault rifles. And it's places like these countries that are actually chaotic are the ones with it. The democratic societies, ones where we have normalcy, you don't have that shit on the freaking ground. We don't have that in our daily life. It's not normal. But Americans get so attached to their amendments and shit, and it's like sometimes you just got to evolve. I don't want to be rude about people's history and heritage, but it's like it's too archaic. You see it all the time. Someone goes to the cinema, there's a mass shooting. Someone goes to the mall, they want to go shopping, mass shooting. Someone's at school, mass shooting. It's just constantly everywhere. You could just be doing anything, and there's people just picking at people. There's people shooting homeless people. It just don't stop. And it's like, when do you say that this isn't normal? This isn't a sort of life I want to live? People just get attached to what they've because they don't let go of the past and like embrace the new. So yeah, like I say, I think and America, if you look at it, the healthcare system, it's all about profit and greed. It's not about the American people. It's about the companies and the corporations that benefit, and then that trickles all the way up through the politics. So the problem is, America has been built on corruption. So how the hell do you free it from it when the whole establishment is built upon it? It's corrupt to its core. And they have the absolute audacity to say that they are democracy and the rest of the world should learn from us. It's like, are you joking me? Are you absolutely joking me? I'm trying not to swear here. It's really, really fraying here. It's a freaking mess. It actually drives me nuts. And I watch so many Americans, and I'm not trying to pick at people. I really ain't, but I see it time and time again. They could not pick a country on a map. I've seen so many stupid people, and I'm sorry, other countries, the average person you pick off the street wouldn't have these problems. They can't even name 3 countries. America is all about its own states. It doesn't care about the rest of the world. And has the audacity to say we police the world? Like, most people don't even know where anything is. It's just stupid. It's absurd. Anyway, I've been talking about this empire. Like you can see, I mean, Trump comes into office, says, there's no wars, president, blah, blah, blah. He's talking out of his ass because he always does. Then he talks about the fact that, you know what, I like the look of Greenland. It's in a very prime position. It keeps us strategic operations, military-wise, and defence. So, you know what, we might actually take it down. I don't even know if he knew Denmark it was a sovereign entity of Denmark, which is part of NATO and Europe. So it's just, I don't think he realised the backing Denmark would have, that it would be as a no-go. I'm sure, I think I heard in the news at the time when America were threatening it. I'm pretty sure it was like countries like France and the UK were prepared to patrol and defend the area. I'm not sure if I've got that right, but I'm sure that's what I heard. So, I mean, that just showed everybody sticking together, really. You're not just going to let America muscle around. It's just ridiculous. So the USA doesn't get its own way everywhere. I mean, you saw it to a degree with the Israel situation. I think most nations folded and joined America, but slowly but surely, because of the ill feeling at home amongst the people, it seems to have subsided a bit, the support. And again, you go far enough over to there. So we've already established that Trump wanted to take Greenland. It was one of his first things. He got excited about that one, nearly wet himself. Then he wanted to build hotels. He got really excited about that. If anyone remembers that, I don't forget much, on Palestinian land. So he was excited about that. All the rubble, all the lives ruined. He didn't care about human life. That meant nothing to him. That was just collateral damage. All he saw was property empire. So he was happy about that. We can build all sorts of hotels and make it really nice. And it was like that. It was actually disgraceful. It was disgusting. It's a bit the same way he's been with Rob Reiner, the director. The way it's been disgusting about that when he's been murdered by his son, potentially, and he just makes mockery of it, and it's just disgusting. This is the human being he is. He's disgusting. And then even with all of that, we heard about the Panama Canal because it's strategic to America. It's easy. It makes transport far more convenient to be able to go through Central America rather than having to traverse all the way around the world. So it kind of makes sense. But it's like you don't just get to dictate what you want. And I mean, he seems to have gone quiet on that, but I think it's because of China's activity there. It has the potential to escalate because everybody has allies. You could argue America has allies with Europe, but then who does China have allies with? And China's a big threat anyway. So you can only bust her around so far. So they haven't. If you look at America, really, they haven't really muscled against real strong political opponents like the abroad. You don't really see America fight like really, really going toe to toe with Russia. They back down all the time, especially Trump does. He just wants to be best friends with them, really, to try and then act like he's leading. And it's like you're just a puppet. And you don't see him going. You see him with the tariffs with China and things, but you don't really see him like defending Taiwan and stuff when we see all the threats from China to Taiwan. So I'm just saying, little things. You see a weakness in the chain. They act tough, but it's a lot of hot air, really. So what do they attack? All these things, What do they actually go and say, right, we're going to go and do this? Because I've said this before, the corruption that filters through the American military with the arms race. A lot of taxes go towards that, and I'm sure a lot of the money that goes towards the funding for the military gets filtered towards different departments that then the money starts getting taken somewhere else. I'm sure there's dodgy contracts everywhere. So, of course, need new weapons for the dodgy contracts to exist. So they sell some, don't they? You see it, they sell aircraft, they sell tanks, they sell freaking ammo or weapons to other countries that are less fortunate, and so then they can get in new stuff. I see beyond the nonsense there. It's obvious what they're doing. So what does America attack? It always attacks vulnerable countries, ones that they consider weaker and less substantial. So we've had the Iraq wars. They tried Vietnam. That was a mess. I think we had Libya as well. And they haven't had boots on the ground in Israel in that area, but they have just with the warships and the jets striking at areas around around Israel's area, in support of Israel, of course. So what do they do now? Oh, you know what? We found a target closer to home. We're going to now pick on Venezuela. That seems convenient. There's less resistance there. It's an easier target, but it's always like I've always got to poke at something. I mean, of course, we had Afghanistan as well, didn't we? But they've always got to poke at something. America, other countries are too big, like trying to recover their economy. They're trying to recover trade, and they're just trying to get back to normal. And meanwhile, we've got this aggression in Eastern Europe with Russia trying to annex Ukraine. And America keeps taking the lead on that. I never really understand why, because I don't see what it's got to do. It's America's their involvement that makes sense to me totally, to be honest. You're either trying to weaken Russia's stance, which I understand because they're an adversary, but then to support Russia all the time kind of contradicts that. Like, so what the hell are you trying to do? Because you can't subdue them. They're always going to be, realistically, especially under the leadership as it is today, they're always going to be this rogue state that's out of control and chaotic. You can't put them on a leash. The only thing you can hope is that one day it evolves. But I honestly, the way I see America is I see it as an illusion. You put billboards up, you put all these other things, and it looks like democracy. It looks like a modern society. I'm not saying the people in general. I mean, some people are going to be nutters, but there's going to be normal people. But you could argue the same with Russians. I think Russians probably, I would expect Russians are misunderstood. There's going to be some nutters there, but there's going to be some really kind people who are just trying to get about their daily life. So, but Russia is seen, if you look at it all, it looks far more, it lacks colour and personality, doesn't it? It just looks stagnant, stale. It's a dictatorial place. But America is no different. It's just you've just been pasted with an illusion where you feel you have freedom, but your freedom is incredibly limited. You see it now, and people want to return to America. Even citizens, they get checked at the freaking airport with all these things. It's getting tighter and tighter at the border. The healthcare is completely changing on a regular basis. It's completely unaffordable. Almost like they're trying to eradicate the poor people. It's like ethnic cleansing in a way, isn't it? But I don't know what you'd call it if it's based on finances. But there is like a level of racism that still extends throughout America. And like Americans might not want to hear all this shit, but it's like, this is the reality though. It's the reality. What other countries are going rogue when you think about they're attacking this country and they're causing havoc? What countries? You've got bordering nations. We're seeing it with, is it Cambodia and Thailand? But they're neighbouring countries. They're just eternal conflict. In the same way, you'll have issues between South Korea and North Korea. That'll happen from time to time. You'll have issues between Pakistan and India. That's going to happen. It's a friction between the two nations. They're just completely at odds with each other's culture, and lifestyles and things. And then you see it in the Middle East as well. So That's really the main thing. And of course, then we've got Russia and Ukraine. But again, they're bordering each other. And again, China has that issue with Taiwan. But again, that's just Taiwan's an island just off of China. So again, it's localized. So what countries are going after? What countries are really, really bothering other countries that are at a distance? The only one I can think of is America. You don't see the UK trying to create a new British Empire. You don't see Spain and France doing the same thing because they've learned from their past. They've had those periods. America is still this young, petulant teenage nation that is just chaotic. And I personally don't see them much different than I see Russia. It's corrupt to its core, from the top to the bottom. And I'm not saying that about the people, because I just said that about the Russian people. You hear all the time where a lot of Russian people don't agree with the war against Ukraine because they consider like the Ukrainians like their brothers and sisters. They even have family members that are like alternate, you know, and it's just disgraceful. And you hear the heartbreaking stories where people were in like their sons and things, and brothers were enlisted, and they were just human fodder on the front line. Just another sacrifice, just to keep the machine going. That's just so disgusting. There's not a lot of when it comes to politicians and leaders, like leaders of countries. They honestly don't care about the people. It's just a number and a statistic. They'll act like they care at times. They don't care. They don't care. So when they say, "Oh, we're going to start conscripting people, where people are going to have to start fighting for their country," it's like, yeah, but for what country? You know, it's all right when you say that, like this is the values we stand by, but who's making the decisions? And you don't trust the person making decisions. So then why should you live? Why should you risk your life for it just over the idea of a nation? Most nations are corrupt as shit, and all the leaders are. So why would you want to defend? Why would you want to risk your life for their policies? Most of it's avoidable. Stop fighting each other, you freaking idiots. So anyway, America is at the moment, it's always oil focused because America's so dependent on fossil fuels with the cars and things, and they have no interest in climate change. So America's got no interest as a whole of creating smaller engines or anything. So what do you need? You need more oil. You just need to keep pumping it. So America's always going to be traipsing the world, getting every last fragment of oil to the last drop. And if a country's in the way, they're going to steamroll the country. And it's like broaden your mind. I know people don't like what I say, but it's like freaking hell. Look at Africa. I have said it ages ago. If I could pick one piece of the world that you could improve and it would change the whole dynamic of the world, like, because if you talk about a utopia where everything's equal, everything's free, it's liberated, it's peaceful, it's never going to be truly peaceful when there's such a divide between the rich and the poor. And the biggest example of poverty is Africa. So when you think about Africa, you think, oh, it's been exploited by the West. Maybe not just the West, but predominantly. So maybe there's diamonds, there's minerals, there's all sorts of things, you know, and it's getting exploited for cheap. So those countries don't have the wealth that they should have. Instead, they're in debt, and it's just disgusting. So how do they get out of that? It's unlike, I don't know how they get out of it, because the other countries are just more than happy to sacrifice them for their own gain. But if there was a way to put a huge investment in Africa, like the whole of Africa, so obviously that's all different countries that amount to the continent of Africa. But if Africa was thriving, you wouldn't get the migration crisis where a lot of Africans are trying to get into Europe, for instance, to build a better life. And I can understand them doing that. But if an area was thriving, then people would be less reluctant to leave. And I think that would create a better balance around the world. But you've got countries around the world who want to exert dominance. So ultimately, we've got, at the moment, you would argue Russia, China, and America. It's a power struggle. But America reckon we've got to police the world. It's like, really, you're just policing it from yourselves. You're part of the problem free. Anyway, I don't want to keep going on about it. But let's have a look now, because this is actually news, this one, which we all saw coming. This is I think this is very close to the Epstein files as well, by the way. So this is the news pointing out the fact that Donald Trump has said the quiet stuff out loud. His Tuesday evening social media post on Venezuela feels like an offload, a dump of thoughts, nevertheless very revealing. So people might not know what I got to say, but it ain't when I see the content after and things, like when I speak, and then I see the news reporting similar. There's a lot of people on the same wavelength. So it's like if you don't like the truth, it's tough shit. It's coming out of the horse's mouth. That's the trouble. So this is Trump now. They're literally quoting Trump. So if people don't like it, it's like, oh, you can't just keep closing your ears to this shit. So he's put, Venezuela is completely surrounded by the largest armada ever assembled in the history of South America. Now he does flabbergast. He does exaggerate everything. Everything's always big with him. So he always does it on a grand scale. You know, if you went to the toilet, it'd say the biggest dump ever. You know, everything's always big, big, big. It's just an idiot. It will only, if you put it there, look, it will only get bigger. And the shock to them will be like nothing they have ever seen before. So they've said, that's his quotes. Now the news are actually saying their own bit here. So they've put, that's a reference to the massive US naval and air force presence in the Caribbean off Venezuela. It is indeed an armada, been there for months now. On the face of it, it's all part of an anti-drug mission to counter the drug trade from Venezuela into America. At least that's the public messaging. And the missile and drone attacks on suspected drug boats in the region are all part of the play. And that's why the second part of his post is particularly interesting, because he now appears to be saying out loud what plenty have suspected all along, that this is actually about regime change. And it is about oil far more than it is about drugs. He says the military will remain in place, and this is his quote, until such time as as they return. He didn't say Venezuela. They've had to put that in where he's missed it because he's a bit of an idiot. So he said, until such time as they return to the United States of America, all of the oil, land, and other assets that they previously stole from us. They're obviously showing a map there so we can see how close it is to America. So it says he continues, and it's Trump again. The illegitimate Maduro regime is using oil from these stolen oil fields to finance themselves. Drug terrorism, human trafficking, murder, and kidnapping. I mean, America do that too. It's just crazy. So then the news is saying this is a reference to the fact that the US was once a huge importer of Venezuelan oil. American companies based in the country extracted the oil and refineries on the Texan coast. And, wait a minute, American companies based in the country extracted the oil and refineries on the Texan coast, processed it. The refineries were adapted over decades to refine the thick, heavy crude that is typical of Venezuela. But again, America when America see an opportunity to exploit, they do. So Trump might be saying, we want the land back that our companies had there where we was extracting the oil. But again, I bet I wouldn't. I'm not saying they have, but America's dodgy as shit. If they've done corrupt crap in Africa, I have no doubt, absolutely no doubt, there'll be unfavourable terms in Venezuela where they're making a fortune at the expense of the Venezuelan government and the people. It's an exploitation. And from what it sounds like, Trump just wants to go and exploit Venezuela again. Give us the ability to extract your oil. We want your oil. And it'll probably be stupid terms. And it's just ridiculous. It's not America's oil. Countries need to start standing up to them. America's the big bully, but they're not. It's just stupid. You're seeing that now, the dissent within NATO countries where they're not always backing America up. And that's because it's not a NATO problem, it's an America problem. They're creating problems for themselves. So it's not an attack on America. America are the ones attacking everybody else. So it's not a thing where people have to stand by their side. Because there's probably international laws being broken here. And they will be held accountable. So the process was big business for American firms until Venezuela, under Hugo Chavez in the 2000s, nationalized the foreign oil assets. Trump wants all that back. The oil, the revenue, the influence. So all this, it seems clear now, is about oil. And it's about spheres of influence, hemispheres. Trump is determined to assert American control over the Western Hemisphere. The ultimate ambition, it seems, is threefold. To remove the Maduro regime and support a friendly, compliant government. Is this not the same thing Russia are doing in Ukraine, where they want compliant regimes in there, so then they can have peace, because it becomes literally a puppet regime of Russia, which is effectively what America want for Venezuela then. They want a puppet regime of America. It's just crazy. and they wanted to seize control of the oil through commercial partnerships, not force, and to stop any drug and people smuggling into the US. So he's really trying to just force their arms so it doesn't have to look like a land grab, which really what it is. With this latest social post, Trump has now said all that out loud. Interesting days ahead are certain. And this is actually Sky News, prominent UK news outlet. So people might not like it, but that's what I'm only sharing what I'm seeing here. Anyway, yeah, I don't want to keep talking about the guy. He's an idiot. But America has been corrupt for so long. And we're seeing it. What the interesting thing is at the moment, we're seeing it now with this, the immigration thing and with tourism, with the tourists, with the visas, and the amount of people around Europe, not even just Europe, even people in Australia, cancelling their holidays to America. They've got no interest in coming to visit in America because it's just too far. Where they're demanding now social media accounts for 5 years, bank accounts. I think it's bank accounts, telephone numbers, everything and anything. And it's like, wow, no. I'm not giving up that just to be able to access a country that could deport me any minute on a whim, And even then, even if it wasn't, it's like I'm still not doing it. It's ridiculous. America is not the utopia it pretends to be, and I am not stupid enough to fall for their illusion. So it might look like I'm anti-America. I'm anti a lot of what America stands for lately. Yeah, and I don't shy away from it. I hope when there's a new regime in charge that America starts to grow, but it may never grow successfully within my lifetime. So things take systematic change takes generations. Obviously, things happen in stages, but it's just dodgy as shit. They're the only country at the moment that are absolutely causing havoc around the world. Russia are pester. They keep, like, for instance, they keep sailing through the English Channel and around the outskirts of the UK, and they keep pestering other nations as well, testing their boundaries, checking their infrastructure. So they're always probing and doing research and causing a mischief, but they're not invading beyond Ukraine that I'm aware of. Of course, they have their influence in places like Syria and things, but that's where the allies are. But then every other nation has an ally, So you could argue it's a bit, where everybody has their allies, but everybody else does too. So, anyway, yeah, no, people won't like this either. They don't like much.